So let's just get right into it. What if almost everything you've been told about building a successful startup is just plain wrong? What if the rules everyone follows are actually the very things holding you back from creating something incredible? Well, today we are cracking open Peter Thiel's super contrarian playbook, 0 to 1, to figure out how to stop copying the present and actually start building the future.
Right from the jump, Thiel hits us with this massive idea. The next Bill Gates isn't going to build an operating system, and the next Mark Zuckerberg, definitely not creating another social network. See, copying what's already out there, that just takes the world from 1 to n. But the real magic, the stuff this book is all about, is going from 0 to 1. It's that one-of-a-kind moment of creating something brand new.
Now, to really get what Thiel is talking about, we've got to jump in a time machine. Let's go back to the year 2000, the dot-com crash. That whole meltdown wasn't just about money. It burned a really specific set of lessons into the mind of Silicon Valley. And Thiel's big argument? They were all the wrong lessons.
And that leads us to this, kind of provocative question. Are the very principles that guide startups today, the ones born from the wreckage of that crash, are they actually steering entrepreneurs in the completely wrong direction? Thiel's answer is a big, loud yes. He's convinced we learned all the wrong things from that experience. So after that bubble burst, this new rulebook popped up, and it was basically written out of fear. First, grand visions were out. They were seen as dangerous. The new advice? Just take tiny, safe, incremental steps. Second, forget about long-term plans. The new mantra was to stay lean, just react to things, because hey, the future's unknowable, right? Third, why bother creating a whole new market? Just find what your competitors are doing and make it a little bit better. And finally, this belief that a truly great product should just sell itself. That sales and marketing were kind of sleazy, a sign your product wasn't good enough.
And this is where Thiel just flips the whole table over. He says, no, those small steps, they lead to small, trivial outcomes. It's way better to risk being bold. He says being lean is just a nice way of saying you have no plan, and a bad plan is way better than no plan at all. And competition? It's not this noble thing. It's a bloody war that just destroys any chance of making a profit. And a fantastic product with no way to sell it is totally doomed. The big takeaway here is that the so-called lessons from the crash pushed an entire generation away from actually trying to build the future.
Okay, so this brings us to the absolute heart of Thiel's philosophy. It's a totally new way to think about what progress even means, and he splits it into two completely different types. First up, you've got horizontal progress. You can think of this as going from 1 to n. It's all about copying things that we already know work and just scaling them up. The best example is China, which has spent the last few decades basically replicating successful ideas from the developed world. There's one word for this: globalization. It's familiar, it's easy to picture.
But then you have vertical progress. This is going from 0 to 1. This is doing something completely new. It's not about making 100 more typewriters, it's about inventing the very first word processor. The single word for this is technology. And this kind of progress, it's much harder to imagine, precisely because no one's ever done it before.
So here you can really see the two paths right next to each other. Thiel's whole point is that while a lot of us think the future is all about globalization, spreading the same old ideas everywhere, the real engine of progress has to be technology. And why is that? Well, because in a world with limited resources, you can't just keep copying the old ways of doing things forever. We absolutely need new technology to build a better, more sustainable future.
Now, this whole idea of copying versus creating leads us to what is probably Thiel's most radical, most controversial idea. He says if your goal is to make something truly new, you shouldn't be trying to compete at all. You should be trying to build a monopoly. Yeah, I know, that word sounds bad, but stick with me. Just look at this comparison from back in 2012. The entire U.S. airline industry made a whopping $160 billion in revenue, but the competition was so insane that they only made about 37 cents of profit for each passenger. 37 cents. Now look at Google. With its monopoly on search, it made less revenue overall, but it kept 21% of it as pure profit. That's a profit margin more than 100 times bigger. The airlines create a ton of value for people, sure, but they capture almost none of it for themselves. Google, on the other hand, creates value and captures. And here's the punchline that really makes you think. We're all taught that capitalism is competition, but Thiel says, no, they're total opposites. Think about it. Capitalism is about accumulating capital, about building wealth, but in a market with perfect competition, every last drop of profit gets competed away. So to build a truly valuable, lasting company, you have to find a way to escape that brutal fight. So if this difference is so huge, why don't more people see it? Well, Thiel's answer is pretty simple. Businesses have a huge incentive to lie about it. From the outside, yeah, most companies kind of look the same. But in reality, the gap between a regular business struggling in a competitive market and a true monopoly, well, it's a massive gaping chasm. Monopolies lie to protect themselves, and they do it by making themselves sound small and threatened. You'll never, ever hear Google say, "We're a monopoly in search." No way. Instead, they'll say something like, "Oh, we're just a small fish in the giant ocean of global advertising," or "We're just one of many tech companies." By defining their market as this gigantic combination of other markets, they cleverly hide their power so regulators leave them alone.
And businesses that are not monopolies, well, they tell the exact opposite lie. They try to look special by defining their market as narrowly as humanly possible. Think about a new restaurant. They won't say they're just another restaurant. They'll say, "We're the only place serving authentic British food in Palo Alto." They're claiming to own the Palo Alto British food market. But that completely ignores the reality that they are competing with every single other restaurant in town for a customer's dinner money. They're creating a little fiction of uniqueness to feel special.
Okay, so if we peel back all the bad advice from the dot-com bust and all the lies that companies tell, what does this all mean for you, for someone who actually wants to go out and build the future? It means you have to stop listening to the crowd and start thinking for yourself.
And it all comes together in Thiel's brilliant twist on that famous Tolstoy quote. Happy companies are all different from each other because each one figured out how to solve a unique problem and earned a monopoly for it. But all the failed companies? They're all exactly the same. They just couldn't get away from the crushing pressure of competition.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question from 0 to 1. And this isn't just about business. It's a question about what's next for all of us. It's a challenge to you to look for the secrets that are hiding in plain sight, to find that one unique problem that maybe only you can solve. Because the most important company, the most important breakthrough is the one that hasn't happened yet, the one that will finally take us from 0 to 1.